Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read Book. Doing a tag today on the subject of cricket. This is an original tag by Gavin at Genre Books, and I felt like I had to do it because I'm probably one of the only people on BookTube that actually like cricket. I love cricket. I believe it is probably the best game on earth. Although I don't watch it as much as football, but I think it's like America's baseball, where it's got more history and statistics, and it's kind of a slower, more thoughtful game. And it's got American football, which is all action and stuff. And we kind of have the same thing with cricket and football. But I love all sports. I love all the sports. But I do love a bit of Test Match Special and the Ashes, which is coming up, and that is why Gavin has come up with this tag. You can do it without liking cricket though, because they're universal questions. So we'll go with opening batsman. Prompt number 1: a writer who builds a solid opening of a book, or just a great first line. For this one, I'm going to go with Daphne du Maurier, who is always really good at the opening kind of paragraph of books, setting a very atmospheric scene. I was trying to find Jamaica Inn, but I can't find it. But I think Jamaica Inn's the best for this. But we'll read the first line of My Cousin Rachel first. So, they used to hang men at 4 turnings in the old days. That's a great first line. That instantly gets you interested. Not anymore though. Now, when a murderer pays the penalty for his crime, he does so up at the Bodmin after a fair trial at the Assizes. That is, if the law convicts him before his own conscience kills him. Great opening lines. Yeah, Jamaica Inn is especially good as well. Prompt number 2: opening partner, a writer who you've built a relationship with over time. For that, I'm going to go with Patrick O'Brien, because I bought this book, Master and Commander, maybe 15 years ago or something, and read it for the first time, and then I sort of thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I thought it was a bit too technical and confusing, but I liked the characters and I loved the film and stuff. And then many years later I went back to it and reread it, and then I read the second one, and I think it's one of those sort of series where once you get to the second one, you're hooked, because since then I've read like 16 of the series, and I love it. And I think the second one is much lighter and funnier and really hooks you into the series, and it's now one of my favourite book series. But the first time I read it, I was sort of unsure about it. I probably gave it 3 stars or something. So if you've had the same experience, my 2 pieces of advice is: A, ignore all the naval terms; B, read the second one. It's fun. Prompt number 3: first change. Imagine you have finished a book that you did not enjoy, a DNF book that, or you've DNF'd a book who's a dependable author you will turn to who won't let you down. I have to go with my old friend P.G. Wodehouse for this one. Every time I read a P.G. Wodehouse book, my brain goes, why have I not been reading P.G. Wodehouse books all the time? Because I've got loads of them left to go as well. But yeah, he's funny. As you can tell from the cover, it's just a man's head in a plant pot. It's kind of silly stuff. But he also has a brilliant command of the English language, and he plays with words. So you kind of feel less guilty about reading such silly things, because you think, oh, well, I'm in the hands of a master of the English language. So it's great fun. But yeah, I've never had a bad time reading a P.G. Wodehouse book, and it's always instant first couple of pages, I'm instantly in. Number 4, middle order. What are the last 3 books that you read? Were you to mark them out of 5, would get a definite 3. I actually do mark things out of 5 so I can check. I've got Hester by Margaret Oliphant, which was the Greek breed for Victober, which I enjoyed, but it didn't blow me away. it's a solid 3-star read, which means good on Goodreads, by the way. So I judge things that are good 3 stars. So it's not a bad grade. Then we've got Fair Play by Toby Jansen. Again, I really like this one, and I probably would maybe upgrade it if I regraded it, because I've thought about it a lot since I read it, which is a book that's kind of based on Toby Jansen's real life, about living with her partner, who's another artist on, or who's another creative person on a small island in Norway. And it's a series of small vignettes. It was hard to get into, but I ended up thinking about it loads. And number 3, The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie, was again a really good read, but plays just aren't as good as her books. Number 5, Wicket Keeper. Tell us about a strong or eccentric character. I'm going to go with Charles Strickland from Somerset Maugham's book The Moon and Sixpence, who's a character who's based on the life of Paul Gauguin, as you can kind of tell from the artwork. And he is a strong character, and he's eccentric, because he's like a banker in the city who gives up his life and leaves his wife to move to become a painter, and he eventually moves to the Caribbean, as Gauguin did. But he's an incredibly unlikable character as well. He's very rude and horrible to everyone, but unbelievably determined to do this thing that he wants to do. He wants to be an artist, and everyone is angry at him for it, and everyone thinks his art is rubbish as well. And it's not until after he dies that he kind of gets success, like Gauguin. So it's kind of told from the perspective of after he's dead, and someone trying to find out about his life in the Caribbean and stuff. But I think it's Somerset Maugham's best book. It's brilliant, and it's beautifully written, and it's about art, so it's full of sort of great lines. But yeah, he's an eccentric character in sort of a good and bad way. All-rounder, a writer that you think is excellent in multiple genres. I sort of have rearranged my bookshelves, and there's now this entire bunch of Ursula K. Le Guin's there. So I can't really pick anyone else apart from Ursula K. Le Guin, because I think she is my favourite fantasy writer and my favourite science fiction writer. So if you're my favourite writer in 2 genres, that's pretty impressive. Although I've never read, I was thinking this earlier this week, I've never read any of her non-fiction. I imagine her non-fiction is really good as well. I've heard it is. Question number 7, spinner. I'm a bit of a spinner. I like to spin. A writer who completely bamboozled and deceived you with a plot twist. Again, I'm going to pick Agatha Christie. I've mentioned her earlier for The Mousetrap. She bamboozles me every time. I've never successfully guessed one of her plots. And she also leaves enough there so you think, oh, I could have probably guessed that if I was smarter. I would say that there's a few books of hers that have got famous twists in them, and they are all done particularly well, but they're all very spoilerable because of the interesting nature of the twist. And the only one that happened to me for is The Murder on the Orient Express, because I already knew the plot twist because I saw the film, but I didn't guess it in the film either. Not the modern rubbish film, the old one with Finney and people like that in it. Number 8, Fast Bowler. Tell us about a writer where you rate their short stories above their novels. I'm going to go with James Tiptree Jr., who's a woman science fiction writer from the sort of 60s and 70s who used a man's name as a pseudonym. I've only read her short stories, so that's easy. her short stories are really good, but kind of depressing, and she had a very sad life. And I'm also going to pick Ted Chiang, who is a modern science fiction writer, who only writes short stories as well, but they're brilliant. And I would always recommend Ted Chiang to even people who don't read science fiction, because I think he's a good entrance to it in a way. And some of his stories are quite historical fiction as well. Number 9, chin music, which is where you bowl short balls so they bounce really high and into people's faces, which is called chin music, because you can get hit in the chin. It's a lovely sport, honestly. It's gentlemen and radio and having a nice lunch and tea breaks. A book with a brutal or visceral scene that left scars. I'm not even going to talk about this book. I'll just show you the cover. So yeah, if you know anything about this book, then you know what I'm talking about. Number 10, 12th Man, refreshments. See, refreshments. You have a little break. Suggest a palate cleanser of a book. I'm going to go with a little book called The Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett. And this is a sort of book that you can sit down and read. That even the text is quite spacious, in an hour or two, and it's I'm sure a lot of you have read it. It's quite famous on BookTube. It's about the Queen meeting someone who runs a what they called movable library things, mobile library, and becoming an avid reader, and how the Queen of England's life is changed by becoming an avid reader really late in life. And Alan Bennett is kind of like a national treasure in the UK. He's sort of he was a TV comedian in a group called The Goons, who were like an influence to Monty Python. So they were around quite a long time ago. And yeah, I've got this dusty old version. But yeah, it's just a lovely little book and something to not take very seriously and enjoy. And I imagine if Alan Bennett reads the audiobook, I imagine the audiobook is great as well, because he's got a very relaxing voice that's instantly recognisable. Anyway, that's the Howzat tag. So I hope people do it even if they don't like cricket, because it's got some great questions. So thanks, Gavin, for tagging me. Have a good one, BookTube. Bye.